order the meeting of October 1st, 2019. Will you all please stand for the invocation and pledge allegiance to the flag?
Lord, all those who hold office in our government, help them to do their work in a spirit of wisdom, kindness, and justice, and to use their authority to serve our residents faithfully. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Does everyone have a microphone?
Here.
Scott?
Here.
McBain?
Here.
Liston?
Here.
I did. It only takes a minute.
Noel?
Here.
Lakeland?
Here.
Lewis?
Here.
Hudson?
Here. You'll receive the meeting minutes for September 17th. Any comments or questions on those? Hearing none, they'll stand as presented. I have a proclamation to read this evening. Another fellow council member passed away last week, and this was a proclamation that was done for her in 2003. It says, whereas Paula Miner has served faithfully as a city council member for 5 years, from January 6, 1998 through January 7, 2003, and whereas she has notably demonstrated dedication of purpose for the progress of our village to a city as she worked for the betterment of Columbiana's development, and whereas this councilwoman has willingly faced the challenges of a growing city and business environment by striving to ensure that each entity complement the other, and whereas the citizens of our community are pleased to join in expressing appreciation and approval for her contribution, now therefore we, the council of the city of Columbiana, do hereby proclaim our appreciation to Paula Miner and do further express our friendship and good wishes to Paula for her years of dedicated service to the city and its citizens. Dated the 17th of June, 2003. And ironically enough, it was signed by the Mayor of Schloniger. We read the one for at the last meeting. Received the Park, Recreation, and Cemetery Board meeting minutes from August 26th. Any comments or questions on those? First up this evening, we have a representative from the Chamber of Commerce here to announce the new executive director for the Chamber.
As some of you may not be aware, April Brinker did resign as executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. She's moving on to a new chapter in her life, and we wish her the best as she moves on with that. But I'm also pleased to announce that we found a very capable person to replace her, Eric Offenberg. Eric, would you like to come up and say a few words? Eric's community involvement experience and event planning experience, we know will be a perfect fit for the Chamber. He started yesterday, and we're glad to have him on board.
I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity from the Chamber, and I look forward to working with the city and just advancing Columbiana. So I'm very excited to be in this position.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard. You received the, actually, we don't need to go over there. We're just going to go to the manager report.
So April Brinker resigned as on the Civil Service Commission too. She's moving out of the city. So we're going to be advertising for letters of interest for her seat on the Civil Service Commission, and we'll accept letters of about 30 days or so from here, and then we'll consider that after that. I gave the idea that, or the news that sidewalk grant from ODOT, we did receive that. That's a $425,000 project, but we weren't real sure what the percentage for grant was, and, we just found out since the last meeting it's 95%, so we're gonna do a 5% match on that. And that'll be for programming year 2023, which means 2022, July 1st, will be, heavily into the engineering, and then probably the spring of 2023 we'll start that. ODOT is replacing the bridge on State Route 7. It's right south of the intersection there, over the large railroad tracks. The great thing is the project won't cost the city anything. A lot of people didn't even know that that's part of the city, but half of it is. So there is legislation on tonight. Actually, it's got time for 2 readings. Basically, they're just asking us to participate, acknowledging that it won't cost us anything. So we'll sign up for that every day. So thinking, I'm just kind of guessing, but I'm thinking by the time of our next meeting, we might know who is deemed the Reader's Digest nicest place in America. So that should be coming up, I think. Have Eric and Crown Theater to thank for a lot of that. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to try to work on something to art, in some type of celebration. So I've been working with Deb Salmon at Crown Theater, and I'll get the details out to you as it goes. We did make some progress on that 65 Duquesne Street that we talked about a few weeks ago. We did get inside, we've inspected it, notified the landlord exactly how to gain compliance and an occupancy permit. One of the other ones that we're going to raise will be in the paper here in the next week or so. So you can look for that advertisement. The Progress Committee is visiting the Columbiana and Crestview schools this week, and that, if you remember, the goal is that really basically to gather information in an effort to create a space and program for local students from Columbiana and Crestview and Heartland, so they can all use that, learn skills and apply entrepreneurial concepts. So we're just in the beginning stages of that. Since the last meeting, the food truck licensing signs are up. Efficiency Smart program that we've been in for a few years, few rounds, is up. I did put that on legislation for tonight. Mike and I attended the AMP conference, and actually Doug Sturgeon attended too. Learned some about the new opportunities coming up. We've got a pretty exciting program to announce here. I don't have all the details, but it's going to be a voluntary program. You know how we have those energy saving days. What we're going to offer in some way, some form, we're going to offer our residents basically to participate in that. And if they have a internet capable thermostat, if you sign up, this program will take over on those days of energy saving, and they'll pre-cool the excuse me, they'll pre-cool the house before the 2 p.m. mark or whatever, and then they can always override it if they want to. Another voluntary program we're working in with some interest with people going green. We have some people that want to put solar panels up, but there's a alternative to that coming up we'd like to offer. They could sign up totally voluntary, and it would still be in and out through us, that we would still bill them, but they could go 100% green, up to 100% green, without having purchased the equipment, so they could just kind of buy into a program. So those are...
Is that like buying like carbon credits or something?
That's a good analogy. It's pretty close to it. We don't have all the details yet, but we're looking for that in the next few months. Terra Designs gave the R&B gave the presentation for the park board last week, and a lot of the council members were there. They're getting the final plan ready to bring back to council later this year, probably be November. Maybe on there already, but we're offering a free tool to Town Center, from Town Center. That's the company that's putting on that upcoming workshop for store owners to learn how they can have effective signs in storefronts in an effort to increase sales. It's a free tool to get on there. It's pretty neat. It's the same tool that we used when Ty Guy painted the front of that building. We used that tool. I can show you that pretty much exact picture on there, so it's pretty cool. Braden Tucker's Dying Breed Diesel event was pretty neat. It was well attended, and lots of trucks. He kept coming up to us and saying, what are we going to do next year? Where we're going to put all these vehicles. So 105, pretty impressive as they pulled out too. So
It feels like 3 whole rows all the way down to the railroad tracks, isn't it?
yeah. And we thank him. He did help participate in the voting for the Reader Digest contest. He has 100,000 followers, so we were happy that he helped us out on that. See, ODOT, they painted the new pavement and placed thermoplastic. If you're up close, you can take a look at some new material. We've never had this before. Some of the larger crosswalks have, it almost looks like a plastic coating on there, and it's called thermoplastic, and it's pretty much maintenance free. They've sealed the joints throughout the paving project. They plan to start, we plan to start, well, we actually started paving yesterday for our project. We had the roads milled last week, and the project's going. So we did Metz Road today, did Pizza Windjammer on yesterday. Ace Hardware is working with us on the leaf bags. Those distribution cards should be going out very soon, and they'll be handed out on the 12th at Ace Hardware. Water Department was always talking about they marked 52 dig locates this week since the last meeting. We've got a lot of action going on, especially at near the library, south of the library. The Water Department helped a crew fix force main for wastewater. We've been installing taps. They serviced 10 hydrants, installed 3 meters. Wastewater Department, they with cleaning and maintenance and filter building, and maintain the RAS pumps too. We had a company out to investigate a sewer issue from the park, basically from the pool all the way down to East Park Avenue, and we're going to be replacing 100 foot of line soon. We actually found a manhole we didn't even know was there, so that was pretty cool. It's like 2 feet deep, so none of the metal detectors were working. We were always getting caught up when we were running it for them. The last 100 feet will not interfere with Joy Christmas, but we'll plan on doing that right around then. They started working on Christmas lights at the park. They actually have a new display this year. It's the train, and they are testing it out. Actually, they're testing it out out of Tom Maple's place. Had to order a new pump for the aerator in the middle of Mirror Lake. We installed the last part of the fiber and installed a large service at the old bowling alley. and, we removed and installed banners on North Main Street. As of, I didn't talk to Zach today from, Dutch House, but at 11:30 last night, we were still ahead for the sweetest bakery in Ohio, so, they're not gonna release the results until the 18th, but, I couldn't bring myself to stay up to midnight, sorry, Zach. But, it's been fun to work with, so, you know, that's, community coming together, we did pretty well. You know, there's a small community doing well in this contest. What have we got?
Can I ask you a question? On the leaf bags, is there a charge for that? How does that work this year?
It's gonna be the same to the residents as always. You're gonna bring your, utility bill or that card.
Okay, and then they can get how many bags?
I believe it's 20, it's, 4 packs of 5.
Okay, very good.
And as they, so that'll be the first day that they're, handing them out. If they run out, and after that, they'll be up in, City Hall. Also, at your place tonight, there is a, something that did not make the packet. The, Safety Day coming up. See that? Community Safety Day. Saturday, October 5th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Everybody's welcome to come out, just like regular safety days, but this one's out at Metz Road, so have a nice new paved road out there, for that, and we're gonna get some lines painted on the, well, I guess it would be the south side of the parking lot there. So, should be fun. I know the chief's been waiting for this for a long time.
We received a notification from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control regarding a new liquor permit B3 for the city of Columbiana at 919 Columbiana Canfield, 919 Columbiana Canfield LLC. The division says Giangelo's at 919 Columbiana Canfield Road, Columbiana, Ohio. In the past, whenever we received one of these, if we want to have a hearing, we have a motion and you vote in the affirmative. If you do not want a hearing, you would vote in the negative. So, can I have a motion to hold a hearing for the Division of Liquor Control regarding Giangelo's license?
Second.
Anything on this, Chief?
We have no reason to oppose it at this point.
We're exactly.
So, we don't know yet. That's how this process works. This has happened in the past. You know, a couple times we're scratching our heads where they're gonna put it, but, the address appeared to be near that new dance center, and that maybe it's, you know, where the Chinese restaurant in El Paso is. It's, I believe it's on the far east, but I'm not sure, and, you know, they come and they do this. I don't know if you've been to Giangelo's, they're in the Canfield area, but it's very nice. But, we haven't heard anything about it. They haven't been here. I think they're testing the waters and go from there.
They've not been to planning commission?
Oh, no, they haven't made any calls at all. I think they wanna get over this hurdle maybe, you know.
They think it's a liquor license and they don't want to.
Right.
I'm sure they don't.
Yeah.
If you want to have the hearing, you would vote yes. If you do not want to have the hearing, you would vote no. Any comments? Roll call.
Becker?
I wish we knew a little bit more information about this. I'm sure that they are good people, and Chief, I appreciate your comment about them, so I'm gonna have to vote no.
Souter?
No.
McLean?
No.
Liston?
No.
Noel?
No.
Good. You, received the bill list for October 1st. Any comments or questions on it? There's no old business this evening. We'll move into new business. Due to the length of the order, ordinances. Can I have a motion to read them by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Souter,
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
Liston,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
Becker,
Yes.
Resolution number 19-R-547, first reading. A resolution authorizing the city manager of the city of Columbiana, hereinafter referred to as the local public agency, to execute a contract with ODOT for the bridge replacement carrying State Route 7 over Norfolk Southern Railroad, PID 99646, in the city of Columbiana.
So moved.
Second.
Any comment?
Just that there's not gonna be any closure there. They're gonna close one lane, cut that bridge in half, lineal, and then just work on one side, and then finish it, work on the other side.
Traffic.
Yeah.
Roger Small,
Yep.
So roll call.
McBain,
Yes.
Liston,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
Becker,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
Ordinance number 19-0-3018, first reading. An ordinance authorizing the city manager of the city of Columbiana to execute an efficiency smart schedule with American Municipal Power Incorporated.
So moved. Second.
Any comments on this? I have one. At the beginning of this, program, probably 8 or 9 years ago, I was not a fan. But over the course of time, I've seen a lot of businesses, take advantage of the program. It also helps local businesses. And we just, our office, could not, work through the city of Columbiana, or we would have got better pricing, but we were able to work with Ace Hardware, who worked with Corbin's Power Company, through a similar type of program. And the lights, if we were to go and buy them, were like $9,000. Through this program, they were around $3,000. So we were able to convert our entire building over to LED, save $6,000 on the purchase cost, and I think it will immediately reduce our utility bill. So the net offset was an immediate return on investment. So that program does this even more potent within the city, and helps the local business get that transaction.
Yeah, it's the cheapest power that we can buy too, basically.
Roll call.
Liston,
Yes.
Bob, you're voting. Noel,
Yes.
Becker,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
At this point in the meeting, we're going to do public discussion. John, you wanted to speak? If you wanted to.
Yeah, if I could, just for a minute.
So just go and state your name and address for the record.
Okay. My name is John Muir, and I live at 208 Homestead Drive, Columbiana. And the last thing I expected to do when I got up this morning was to stand here and be at this meeting. But the other thing I didn't expect this morning was to find a backhoe digging a hole in my front yard. And there's some construction going on, new construction, SFR, in our neighborhood, and I think one of the things that's very positive the city has done is to have the tax abatement program, and I think that's really helpful. I fully support that. We've had 4 new homes on our street in the last 2 years, and we have 2 under construction right now. So, I recognize that there's right-of-ways, and I don't have an objection to power companies, or in this particular case it was gas company, exercising their right to the right-of-way. However, there's a thing called courtesy, and I think what's missing here, and what got me kind of started this morning, and took me down a trail that I will also follow up on, is that at no point in time did anybody notify me that there was going to be a backhoe in my front yard. And in fact, I had had a landscaper scheduled to come in this morning to do some work, and the backhoe kind of precluded that. And so it would have been nice if somebody would have notified myself. And there's more that's going on our street. There's more that's going on in the city of Columbiana, and that's why I want to address a larger issue here. The hole has been filled. There's straw on top of it. I hope there's grass seed underneath it. Again, nobody mentioned anything to me, and I'm sure they're not going to come out for the next week or so and water that. But that hole has been filled. But in the process of trying to find out who had responsibility for extending the courtesy to neighbors that something was going to happen, I found that there's a huge gap in the information. And in fact, and I spoke with Mr. Willard earlier today, there is nobody responsible. And in my process this morning, the folks that were actually digging the hole were a sub to a gas company, and sub said, hey, it's not our job. I talked to the gas company and said, hey, it's not our job. I talked to the contractor, he says, it's not our job. And when I spoke to Mr. Willard, he said, it's no, excuse me if I misstate our conversation, but there is no one responsible for notifying neighbors that there's something that's going on their property. And I think in a city that's growing like this, and you talked before about going from a village to a city, there's going to be continued growth here, and I hope so. And that's one of the reasons I moved here. I really like Columbiana. But I think in the process of the city growing, you probably should take a look at some of the procedures and processes in place and perhaps institute some controls here. And somebody has to be responsible. In the process of them digging the ditch today in front of my house, they went ahead and severed the irrigation system I had. Now, I happened to be out there as they were filling the hole, and I said, duh. And oh, that's not our responsibility. And I'm going, yes, it is. So, it's fixed. The dirt is in there, but at some point in time in the future, when I went to turn on the sprinkler system, and something didn't work, it was going to be my responsibility. Okay, so somebody has to be responsible. And I just think that there's a little bit of a gap in the processes and procedures. And again, in the process of talking with the gentleman in I guess it's the planning department, and I was asking him, that's where I kind of started, who has responsibility? And we kind of got confused on which house we were talking about. And he made the comment to me that the second house, that big hole in the ground right now, he says, there's no permit on that property yet. And I said, you permitted somebody to excavate? And there's not a permit? So I think it's in work, but they haven't paid for it yet. So, again, in a little village, you can get away with stuff like that. But I think as we grow, we need to have a little bit more structure. Talking with Mr. Willard also, I said you outsource, your inspection process, building inspection process. And a lot of cities do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. What I would recommend, though, is that you institute some kind of QC program. That periodically you look at these third-party inspectors and just make sure they're doing their job.
Right now, the states do that for us.
Pardon?
The state right now.
Yeah, so, we had this conversation, but, we don't inspect electric. There's a state certified company that does electric. The county does the plumbing, and then we do the,
But my question is, the first thing that even comes to mind is there's a process called hooks, okay? And whether it's telephone or electric or water, you know, that should have sent up the first red flag. And was there anyone there that did any, type of markings on your property, sir?
Yes, there were markings,
Okay.
okay. But the markings have been there for some time.
Were they longer than a week?
Yes.
Then that makes it invalid, I believe.
I have no idea, honestly. You know, my expertise is not in building codes or anything like that.
I would feel certain if it were I.
Well, not all of us are that educated on the process.
I mean, if you wanna get down in the, you know, we had a 45-minute conversation today.
Okay.
It was oops. There's a flag right there. There's relatively fresh paint. I don't know how many days it is. It's usually 10 days. There's the hole, there's the, you know, there's a flag there for the electric across the street. But, yeah, we don't have a good way of letting the neighborhood know what's going on. So the only thing I can think of, I mean, if we have had people call in and say, hey, what's going on in my front yard? You call in to us, and then I thought of this since I talked to you. You know, then I reach out to one of my superintendents that gets all the emails, and then we'll try to track it down, you know, to see what they're doing. But, you know, you stated that they are in the right of way, you know, they're allowed to be there, but, if courtesies, you know, it's definitely not there. You know, I think it would have been nice if you would have known what was going on.
You know, even if the folks that were doing the digging this morning would have come up to the front door and knocked and say, hey, we're gonna put a hole in your front yard today, and here's what we're doing, and here's the process, and we'll be done by the end of the day, but there was nothing. And when I went out to speak with the gentlemen who were operating the equipment, the last person they wanted to speak with was a homeowner. And so it was very difficult to get information from them. It was very difficult to track down who the utility was, the gas. And of course, they said, well, it's not their responsibility. You know, you should talk to the contractor. And so I talked to the contractor and said, that's not our responsibility.
Well, they hired you.
Well, you know, and Mr. Willard and I went through this at length. You know, I mean, to me, there's a difference between law and maybe common sense, and they don't always match up. And so I'm just bringing this to the council just as something to think about. Like I say, as the city grows, this is going to happen over and over and over again. And the more that you permit gaps like this, the worse the problem's going to be down the line, and the harder it's going to be to correct.
I would think that everyone here would be very sympathetic with you. You know, absolutely. Yeah, I don't.
You know, my purpose is not to get sympathy. You know, certainly my purpose here is just to say, hey, this is something that I ran into today. I know other neighbors in my neighborhood that have had it happen before. They don't have the time, I guess, to come here and raise the issue in front of council. But certainly they talk about it in the neighborhood. And like I say, there's more houses going up, and that's great. I love it. It's great for Columbiana. It's great for my neighborhood. But this is going to happen over and over again. And there's a lot more if you, and I don't know if Mr. Willard took pictures down the street, but there's a lot more yellow markings down the street. And that's what happened to me is going to happen to a couple of my neighbors here very soon, because the pipeline is on the even side of the street. The construction is on the odd side of the street. So anyway, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
I just want to state a couple more things. You know, when you build a house, like when we built our house, I was responsible for turning in that paperwork as a homeowner. It's not the general contractor's, you know, job to do that. So you send it in, and they'll say, oh, 30, 60 days, you'll have gas, and you have no idea when they're coming. And then you'll come home one day and can't get in drive or whatever, and, you know, of course you won't you don't live there yet, but, so that's one thing. So I guess I would encourage for the stopgap until we figure out a better solution or whatever, we'd encourage people to call in and ask why they have markings out there. I mean, I just talked about, we had 52 dig locates. I mean, our city's busy, you know, there's 52 dig locates since last time we, you know, met here 2 weeks ago. And then, just a clarification, on the building permit, that was a whole, there's a whole process in that, you know, as far as getting building permits. And I can sit down, I mean, I learned more about building permits today than, you know, but, there's a whole process, but, you know, you don't need a permit for a hole. And that's where that house was at, but, we do have, you know, check the records and everything's up to date. You know, we have all the, houses that are under construction, have their building permits paid. I assure you that.
Real quick. When there's a project coming out where we know it's gonna take on a whole street, how hard is it for us, as soon as we know, put something, a little notice on our website that says, we know this is coming out?
If it's our project, we do that. I mean, we're talking, I want to be clear here. We are talking about a private utility. We are not talking about our stormwater. We're not talking about our wastewater. We're not talking about our electric or our sewer. We do knock on the doors. We do hang tags. I'm sure you've had tags hung on your door, you know, because we pay people to say, we're coming, we need in your house, we need to put a water meter in, we're gonna do that. So, we have the process down.
Right there, here in private versus, you know,
I mean, you dealt with it with a sidewalk. I mean, it was like herding cats out there with some of the, you know, because they came to her house one day, the gas line subcontractor, and I don't know who it was, they cut a brand new sidewalk off, a brand new sidewalk. We didn't know they were coming, you know, what they were gonna do. So,
I know when Columbia was working in our neighborhood, they notified everybody well in advance, you know, and they even held a special seminar saying, here's what we plan to do. But in that case, they were replacing service to everybody in the neighborhood. And so they did the right thing. I know that out at Firestone Farms, you have a different gas company. Yeah. Come on, man. Yeah. And, but it just seems to me like there ought to be some process that whoever is responsible, you know, the general contractor or whatever for building the house is the one who should be able to say, this is what's going to get done when.
well, but they don't know, because you're the homeowner, you send in the paperwork. And a lot of times, that's the weakest link in the entire project of your house building, is waiting on a private utility to be installed. So it holds them back a lot of times. Now, we have a contractor that can talk about that, but these houses are built, my house was built in 118 days. That's pretty quick.
The problem is, when somebody's working in that right-of-way, and that's the key, unfortunately, Mr. Muir, you're right, legally there's a problem. And the problem is, they can do whatever they want with their right-of-way, in their right-of-way. I don't care if it's in my front yard, it's their right-of-way. If there's a right-of-way in the front yard, they're gonna work on it. And I think you're gonna hear a contractor say, we don't even know when they're gonna come out and do things.
Well, not that I botched her for Masters now. And, you know, I sympathize with you. We were building a house across the street. And, yeah, I was there, I've been there yesterday, I was there this morning. I'm at the jobs every day. And, we don't know when they're coming. We honestly don't. We've been trying to get gas to that home since we started in June. And if we have all the documentation as far as contacting the company. Linda's made numerous calls on it. Then we had the homeowner had to submit paperwork, sign off on it. And so we've been working on it since June to get gas there. Finally, last week they gave us a proposal, because that's a co-op. We have to pay for it. That gas can cost $2,500 to run to the house. So we had to pay to get it to the house to begin with. they said it was gonna be done, second week in October. I went to the job this morning, I had my stone guys starting there this morning, they showed up this morning with the machines, and I thought they did a phenomenal job. They dug the 3x3 hole between the city sidewalk and the curb, had a small little mini excavator, didn't take up the whole street or anything, and they bored it. They bored from the house all the way out there so they wouldn't tear things up too much. But, and that's only kind of an idea. What we find out is when it's oops. And we use everything we do underground because that's the law. And you only have a 10-day window. So that was just oops a couple of days ago. So it kind of gave us an idea they're going to be there within the next 10 days where they have to call oops again. So those flags are pretty fresh. They were out there. But the right of way, you know, everybody thinks they own all the property, but your property doesn't start till about 12 and a half feet back off of the curb, back where the start of the property. But you got to remember there's a 10-foot easement most of the time.
15 of Firestone.
15 of Firestone. So from that property in towards your home, that is a 15-foot utility easement. It doesn't matter what you do, what you say, they're going to come in and dig whenever they want to do it. And that's how that's how the laws are. You have to give them an easement, a recorded easement on that piece of property. So, you know, I sympathize, but we don't have really control over it. We don't have control in in Columbiana, the electric company has a little bit more say when they're going to come, but, you know, if we're working with Columbia Gas, the other gas companies, they come and go when they want. I got a house we're doing in Salem that's been 4 months. We've been waiting for gas to get there for Columbia Gas. So it's kind of, you know, you're at their mercy basically, you know. And I, like I said, I talked to the guys. They said they were going to backfill that today and grass and then straw, which I thought they did a great job on. And they were, you know, very polite as far as doing their work there. So, but you know, we don't have really too much to say as far as the utility company, to be honest with you. Columbiana with the electric company, those guys do a great job. I got to commend them. The water department, you know, this is the only community, and I mean it. Salem, for $50 you can use their water. I cannot get into a water meter at Aquas. We do Avelino. You know, we have to truck water in. Here, I call the water department. You know, in a couple of days they'll move meters. They got water meters. They go on the hydrants. We pay for that amount of water we use. But it's so easy because you have water while you're working. We're not trucking water and barrels of water and stuff. So I really have to thank those guys. I mean, and as far as even temporary service, you know, our guys do a great job giving us temporary service there. So, but you know, like I said, we'll try to, you know, be more conscientious as far as if we know when they're coming, you know, we'll let people know. But it's who knows when they're going to roll in. Okay, so.
Matt, I'll add one thing to that. Rob Strayer, I'm just going to pick up where he left off. So, when we do a pre-meeting with the gas company and try to figure out what they're doing, we just did this in Old Saybrook. We pre-meet, we mark it out with Mike from Columbia Gas, we pick the direction we're going. When the installers get there, they could pick a complete opposite direction. They're supposed to go from this stand to that wall, and they decided not to. Last week, they decided to go from this stand to County Line Road. And they go, listen, we're either going this way or we're not installing it. And so, it is, you know, in condo associations, it's a blank easement on entire land. But there's not as much say as you guys think as, you know, as a building contractor. I think when he said contractor, he's referring to the contractor that was hired, but the building contractor, there's not a lot of say. Right of way, just to be clarified, this was in the right of way, which is owned by the city. The easement, which is behind it, I don't know if we even got an easement, you know, but courtesy, I mean, we're always trying to be courteous to our neighbors who live in the community. And I'm just going to point out, as far as, just in general, oops, and there's 57, 25 a week, 26 a week, 27 a week locations. I mean, that would generate a whole lot of conversation, a whole lot of investigation, trying to figure out what's going on. People dig a mailbox, they call oops. People dig a basement, they call oops. So I just don't want to burden. I think this is an almost unneeded burden for something to be a full-time job, trying to figure out what's happening. And I just don't wanna get lost in the weeds. I would like to keep our momentum, keep the ball rolling, just be smart about our decisions, so I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council this evening?
Brian, I just wanted to, say that I didn't want this to go out unrecognized, but the American Legion, they gave us a donation through the park board of $2,500. I thought that was significant, it's earmarked for the sports complex over at the park, which is part of the R&B project. It's one of the phases of the R&B restoration. I don't know what phase, but that money will be earmarked for the sports complex.
Thank you. Thank you.
You might want to clarify that a little bit, Mike. Being sports complex, we're talking about basketball, pickleball, and that area,
right,
rather than not to be misconstrued with some of the other discussions that have been going on,
right,
about some of the other athletic facilities.
Right, yes, yes.
The R&B project are the courts.
Sport courts, they call it.
Sports courts, right?
Sports, yeah. Very good. Anyone else? Is there any, council comments? Because we have, an executive session, we're trying to get those out. Is there gonna be any action afterwards? Okay. Yeah, we'll do council comments now, there won't be anything else after when we go back.
I was approached about parking on Stanton Avenue and the concern about getting an emergency vehicle in there. When people park on the north side, on the south side, and then people park directly opposite on the north side, and there was a concern if there was an emergency vehicle needed to get that.
We've been monitoring that, and we will try to, address these issues at planning commission, in December.
Okay.
Anyone else? If not, I need a motion to go into executive session regarding the discussion of personnel, section 121.22G1.
Second.